It was my birthday last week. It's one of these arbitrary markers of time that simultaneously signals the end of something and the start. I've been thinking about deadlines a lot lately. They give me something to look forward to, something to plan for. For example, I'm moving this summer. That's deadline number 1. Deadline number 2 is the draft of a novel in translation I have to turn into my publisher in September. Like most people, I have a job, and my job is not translating books or writing them. And since my trust fund got lost in the mail somehow, I'm trying to balance the two. Luckily, I'm going to take a break from my job for a very short time, for just a week, to go on a sort of writing retreat. I have 60,000 words to edit and this 1 week to do it. And that's not the entire book. That's just the first third of it. But as far as places on planet Earth go, this is not the worst one to write a translation in. In fact, for me, it's one of the best. Officially, there's a poetry conference going on around me. Now, I don't personally write poetry. I've tried. Let's leave it at that. I've always preferred prose, but I like to listen to poetry, and I like to talk to poets about it. The conference is really like 100-person meeting/writing session, and it helps that the nuns who run this retreat center are militant about silence in public spaces, and also that meals are provided. Meals and silence and Wi-Fi and vistas. And all I have to do is get to work. The combination, honestly, of all these things has helped me approach this big, scary, beautiful novel again. You're going to hear much more about it as I talk about this journey, but briefly summarized, it's a multi-generational saga that follows midwives working in southeastern Poland in the 1800s and beyond. In the original Polish that the novel is written in, it is 200,000 words long. If you have never translated a novel before, which odds are you probably haven't, what many translators like to do is a rough first pass. So that means getting the words down on the page in whatever awkward configuration they might appear, just getting the meaning down. I like to call this the I hate myself stage, because that's when the monumental task before me truly reveals itself. And I see this chasm start to open up between this, on the one hand, polished, edited, published language and the mangled next one. And then in draft 2, once I have that all down, I put the text up side by side again. And now I'm tweaking the little dials of meaning and style and voice. And this is the what was the author thinking stage for me. It's where I catalog all the hard stuff, all the problems I have to tackle later that I'm leaving for myself now. It's where I start to notice patterns and quirks, and where these patterns and quirks start to annoy me. What's up with this point of view? How do I translate this rhyme? Why is there rhyme in the first place? Is this shift intentional or not? It's where I'm still figuring out the characterization. I've lived with the novel for a little bit, but it doesn't feel like it's moving into a coherent state. It's kind of in this in between limbo. The next drafts finally feel like you're wiping a little more scuzz off a window. So these are like where the book starts to really read like a book. Your vision meshes with the author's vision, your voice melds with their voice, tone, style, and meaning come together. And it feels pretty good. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm I'm washing windows. And honestly, it's not a process super well suited to lunch breaks or 20-minute sprints, at least not for me. And retreats like this one only highlight that. Because at the end of it, even though I haven't totally hermited myself in my room for 24 hours and with writing being the only thing that I'm doing, I have 212 edited pages in really good shape, ready to go off to the publisher to look at. They're pages that I've labored over for literal months before this and just couldn't make myself make much headway on. No matter how much I tried, no matter how incrementally I felt the text was improving, there was something that just I couldn't make cohere in this larger way, in a way that felt like progress. But I can't just abandon my life to do creative work. So where does that leave me?
I'm always sad to leave any place that feels like it's a break from the ordinary reality that I live every day. Because then I have to return to that reality. And for the next few weeks, I often spend time thinking about how I can organize my life to be a little bit more like my vacation. And then inevitably, and here's the sad part, I stop there because the ordinary life takes over the vacation life that becomes so easy to forget. So, knowing myself and knowing that I tend to fall into these cycles of really looking forward to this time and space that I get to have away from my regular life, and then knowing that when I return to that life, I'm just consumed by everything that made me want to escape it in the first place. So I've been thinking about how to realistically replicate the creative fill that I get from these kinds of experiences and how to bring that into my everyday life so that it doesn't feel quite so jarring and so that I don't feel like I'm exhausting this potential that I always rediscover that I have, that's very difficult to tap into when I have to go to work or get up or cook a meal for myself or make all sorts of decisions that we make every single day that just kind of weigh on you. Obviously, I watch all the shows and I put on all the things and I cook all the food. And I don't know, maybe these kinds of experiences make me rethink how important that is. Maybe I'm using all of those little decisions and creative outlets as a way to avoid like the difficult work that is really diving into like a long creative project with an indeterminate endpoint. And if I keep going the way that I'm going in my regular life, I feel like I can foresee that I'm just not going to finish anything. And that kind of scares me. So, coming from a place of fear, but like hope, fear, but hope, I think I'm going to make this promise to myself and come up with a few strategies for incorporating this kind of creativity in everyday life, based on things that I've noticed have worked for me here. So, the first thing is you have to be ruthless about cutting out the things that don't serve you. We can't do everything. I think life told us you can't do everything. And I think people took that as a challenge that, yes, I'm going to do everything. I can do everything. I just need systems and lists and things in place to allow me to do everything. And if that's the way that you want to live because you can, I say go for it. If that's what works for you. I don't think it works for me. Clearly. So think about the things that you can cut out of your life that aren't serving where you see yourself as a creative person in the future. If you were to look back on your life and think about all the things that you did and what you wanted to accomplish, what does that involve and what does that look like? And I think, God damn it, it's the phone. I have to admit to myself that it's the phone. It's not just the phone, it's what the phone does, right? It's all these micro distractions that feel good in the moment. And I'm clearly not the first person who said this. It's not necessarily a novel thought to be like, phone dopamine hits bad because they stymie long-term creativity. But it is kind of the phone. It's kind of the phone. It's the phone and all the apps and the things that you feel like you're missing out on and the conversations you feel like you're missing out on that you're really not, that don't do anything but take your time and your energy. And it almost feels like a job now, checking the phone, doing the phone work, doing the email and the social media and the personal branding and everything like that. And what happens if you take some of those hours back? But not just the hours, it's like the mentality back, that you can sit with some of that boredom, that you're fine with it. So it's the goddamn phone. Let's put that up on the board. It's the goddamn phone. Okay, there's someone like pacing on the beach. And every time I feel like she's going to come here and come to me, but she does an about face and turns right back around. So safe to say, I don't think she's coming here. But what if one time she does? Because she decides to go a little further and then she's here. And then we got to interview her. All right, the second thing, trying to change your environment can be helpful just to reset and recharge your creativity. Even if it's just going a different route wherever it is that you live, going to a different coffee shop, going to visit a museum, changing up your routine, using novel experiences to replace the novel experiences that the internet can give you, but actually physically, bodily placing yourself in new locations. That could be going to that coffee shop. That could be going to another state, to a retreat like this, or forming your own retreat and taking a few days where, I mean, you truly, really don't do the things that you do in your normal daily life. So trying as much not to half-ass it, so that you're not still thinking about the job and to the extent that it's possible, right? Like, everyone's situation is very different, but to the extent that it's possible, leaving some of that behind so that you can focus on the things that you normally half-ass, if you do half-ass them. I quarter-ass them a lot of the time. And then finally, I think this is something that a lot of people recognize, but it's something that I don't often think about. Like, I know that this is a thing that helps other people, but because I don't have a ton of avenues for this particular thing, there's no way for me to engage with it. But that's find a community. Find people who you can talk to about the things that you're interested in, who engage with art and creativity and writing and all of that in a serious way that differs from yours too, so that you have not just your own perspective or an echo chamber of the same kinds of thoughts, but something different, some new thought to offer you. And that's what I really loved about this particular conference, is that there are people here who are faculty, there are students, there are people like me who don't do the kind of thing that the others do here, but who are here for funsies more so than for serious scholarship. But find spaces where you can interact with all sorts of people who engage with art in all different kinds of ways, whether that's online or in person. I think I see the value more and more of returning to that like embodied in-person experience, that sharing a space with somebody else is like transformative in a way. So if you can do that, I would say do that, either at some sort of retreat, or if you're meeting up with someone new or meeting someone new or engaging with someone online whose work you admire, who you've never talked to, reach out to them. And I bet that they will appreciate it as much as you do. I often feel really, really shy about talking to people because I feel like almost like a nuisance. I've noticed that other people feel the same way as well. And those are people who I would never consider to be nuisances or someone who has nothing to offer. So don't underestimate yourself. We're all just trying to make it. And I hope that you make it. I hope that we all make it.